Federalist 60, Part 4, Paragraph 10. Please make sure to listen to the previous parts of this Federalist, because I'm just going to go ahead and read the text to you. I rather consult brevity in discussing the probability of a preference founded upon a discrimination between the different kinds of industry and property, because, as far as I understand the meaning of the objectors, they contemplate a discrimination of another kind. They appear to have in view, as the objects of the preference with which they endeavor to alarm us, those whom they designate by the description of the wealthy and the well-born. These, it seems, are to be exalted to an odious preeminence over the rest of their fellow citizens. At one time, however, their elevation is to be a necessary consequence of the smallness of the representative body. At another time, it is to be effected by depriving the people at large of the opportunity of exercising their right of suffrage in the choice of that body. So, anti-federalists, in one place they're saying you're going to make the districts, electoral districts, in a way that you're going to give the wealthy and well-born advantage over other people to run for office and win, and then take our freedoms away. Then we turn around and you say you're going to do other things like creating districts that are only populated by wealthy people to take away the freedoms of majority of people by giving these wealthy people the advantage of being able to win elections and serve in office. He says, anyway, whatever we've said, it seems like these anti-federalists, our opponents, are not looking at things reasonably. They're coming up with excuses. But upon what principle is the discrimination of the places of election to be made in order to answer the purpose of the mediated preference? Are the wealthy and the well-born, as they are called, confined to particular spots in the several states? Have they, by some miraculous instinct or foresight, set apart in each of them a common place of residence? Are they only to be met with in the towns or cities? Or are they, on the contrary, scattered over the face of the country as avarice or chance may have happened to cast their own lot or that of their predecessors? If the latter in the case, as every intelligent man knows it to be, then he says, particularly in the southern states and in the state of New York, is it not evident that the policy of confining the places of elections to particular districts would be as subversive of its own aim as it would be exceptionable on every other account? The truth is that there is no method of securing to the rich the preference apprehended but by prescribing qualifications of property either for those who may elect or be elected. But this forms no part of the power to be conferred upon the national government. The authority would be expressly restricted to the regulation of times, the places, and manner of elections, the qualifications of the persons who may choose or be chosen, as has been remarked upon other occasions in other Federalist Papers, are defined and fixed in the Constitution and are unalterable by the legislature. Notice he brings up something that he's already talked about. He said one really good thing we did in writing this Constitution was that we left the qualifications of both the electors and those who are going to be representatives and going to be elected, your representatives, all of it up to your states. And it's in the Constitution. It can't be messed around with. We said that the members of the, whoever who's qualified to vote to elect the lower branches of the state legislatures, those people will be qualified to vote for members of the House of Representatives. And we've left everything else up to your states. So how is the national government use this and trick people and get rich people to run for office, or to make it in a way where poor people cannot vote? He says, we've left it up to your state, directly or indirectly. So national government is not at all thinking about building a system or creating a system that only wealthy and well-born can either vote or run for office, or both. And then the last paragraph, let it, however, be admitted for argument's sake that the expedient suggested might be successful, and let it at the same time be equally taken for granted that all the scruples which a sense of duty or an apprehension of the danger of the experiment might inspire were overcome in the breasts of the national rulers. Still, I imagine it will hardly be pretended that they could ever hope to carry such an enterprise into execution without the aid of a military force sufficient to subdue the resistance of the great body of the people. So he even says this is not going to happen. Earlier he said American people are too wise and too enlightened, they're so used to their freedom that they're not going to let the national government take it away from them without putting up a good fight. And here he says even if it goes to a point that the national government wants to use a military, still American people will find a way of defending themselves and their freedoms. The improbability of the existence of a force equal to that object has been discussed and demonstrated in different parts of these papers. But that the futility of the objection under consideration may appear in the strongest light, it shall be conceded for a moment that such a force might exist, and the national government shall be supposed to be in the actual possession of it. What will be the conclusion? With a disposition to invade the essential rights of the community, and with the means of gratifying that disposition, is it presumable that the persons who were actuated by it would amuse themselves in the ridiculous task of fabricating election laws for securing a preference to a favorite class of men? Would they not be likely to prefer a conduct better adapted to their own immediate aggrandizement? Would they not rather boldly resolve to perpetuate themselves in office but one decisive act of usurpation than to trust to precarious expedients which, in spite of all the precautions that might accompany them, might terminate it in dismission, disgrace, and ruin of their authors? Would they not fear that citizens not less tenacious than conscious of their rights would flock from the remotest extremes of their respective states to the places of election to overthrow their tyrants and to substitute men who would be disposed to avenge the violated majesty of the people? So even if the federal government, he says we've already talked in another one of the papers that the federal government can only put so many thousands of people under arm, even if it could, to suppress people's rights. But he says American people will rise up from every corner of every state and answer these tyrants and put them in their place. So any way you look at it, the national government is not going to take your liberties away. Don't listen to the anti-federalists that are bringing these charges against the Constitution, against us in the newspapers. And sometimes he says some of their points is well taken, is okay, but they just go, a lot of times they go too far. And part of the reason is that a lot of people want to make 3 or 4 confederacies out of these 13 states. This way, they can keep the positions they have, all the money they make from the positions they have, and the governments right now will not be in danger, because they think if a federal government is created, they'll lose their jobs. They might not be in a position to make money or get different advantages on the side that they could under state government and under 13 countries. So constantly keep in mind that some of these people who are criticizing the Federalists have selfish reasons or ambitious reasons of not wanting this union to form, of the 13 states to unite and become United States of America.